Oh, hello, welcome to geometry. Let's go ahead and turn your books to lesson 69. That is page 457. Have any questions? Make sure you go down here. There's a lot of information down there I try to put every day. Those packets are due today. Make sure you have them to me. I have to record and grade all of them. The grading period ends on Friday. That is very important. If you don't turn it in, that's all zeros. You don't want that. Brother John is going over to all the Chicago houses and he will be picking up your packet. So there is no excuses. I'm here for zero excuses. If you need help at any point, there is FaceTime, there is Instagram, there's Facebook. You can do like a FaceTime option there. I am here to help you out. I'm always here or at home. I'm awake until like 11:30, 12 o'clock-ish. That means I don't want you to, blow up my phone. But if you do need the help, please contact me and I would love to help you. Let's go ahead and get started with the lesson. We're learning about trapezoids and kites. We learned about different properties, about the many different shapes that we've learned. Here, let's go ahead and go to theorem 69-1. This is called the mid-segment theorem. If you have a rectangular shape right here, and you have a midpoint, or the mid-segment, so it's a line that cuts across it evenly, and these lines are parallel. To find that missing section there, they're saying, these are the properties to find this area or this length of it. To find it, they have an equation here. They have that the mid-segment, to find this point here, it's 1/2 times the sum of the bases. So remember for trapezoids, for the area, it's 1/2 times parentheses base 1 plus base 2. It's just like that for the mid-segment. To find this section here, it's 1/2 times this length plus the length on the bottom. So plus base 1 plus base 2. So let's go ahead and do example 1. Let me go ahead and use a different marker. Here we have a trapezoid. These are parallel and that's telling us it's a trapezoid. If it doesn't have the lines here, it's telling us it might not be a trapezoid. Here it is a trapezoid. We have to find what EF is. So according to the formula, the mid-segment, the midsection, let me see what the proper name is. Yeah, mid-segment is equal to 1/2 times the sum of the bases. So the base, there's two of them. So it's EF, this mid-segment is equal to 1/2 times the sum of the top base and the bottom base. So then I'll have EF is equal to 1/2 times AB, this top part is 15, this bottom part is 25. So it looks like I have an equation there. I can easily solve for EF by continuing on. That is 1/2 times 40, 15 plus 25 is 40. That means our section here is equal to 20 feet. And there we find what the mid-segment is. Yes, come in. Sorry. Next one. Let's go ahead and do example 2 before someone interrupted me. Here we have the properties, or two properties of the trapezoid. So here the first one, we're going to deal with this, is there are two bases, right? The top and the bottom one. According to this property, the top angles are congruent. The bottom angles, so it's the long side, the two ends, those angles are also congruent. But also, when you have two different angles, so this is part of the top base, this is part of the bottom base, these two are supplementary, meaning if you add these two, you should get 180. So these are congruent, but when you add these two side ones, they are equal to 180. Example 2. All we have is the measurement of angle M. It's that corner right there. We have to find the three other angles there. So to find it, we go ahead and use one of these properties. I think the easier ones to use is to find what the top is. According to this, if I move the camera sideways, I can see that this is my top and this is my bottom. Let me go ahead and move the camera again. All right, so now this is considered the top. So these two are congruent, these two are congruent. So here it says to find all the angles. I already have what angle M is, or N. That is 107 degrees. Now we have to find what O and what P is. If we find one of them, we can find the other one. So I'm going to focus on this section right here. We already said that this is 107. We know that if you add angle O plus angle N, you get 180 degrees. If we don't have what angle O is, I'm going to put X. We do have angle N, that is 107. We know they have to equal 180. So to find that, you subtract. When you subtract it, you get, let me look here, 73 degrees. So that means O is 73. Also, this is the bottom base. Those two bottom base angles are congruent. So that means 73 also applies to angle P. Next one, crooked. Okay, next one. Here, the second one here, the diagonals are congruent for trapezoids. So the diagonal meaning if this is 5, this is 5 too. If this is 7, this is 7. Here, we have only certain sections. If I were to draw this out, we're only focusing on this line here. So this is A, this is C, this is E. According to what they gave us, they said to find what angle CE is. CE is this section right here. We don't know what it is, that's X. They said find CE if AC, that's the whole thing, is equal to 22.3 and AE is equal to 8.9. So therefore, we have to find that small section. This goes back to lesson 1 and lesson 2 when we go back to find certain sections. According to this, to find what this is right here, all we have to do is subtract the 2. So that means we have 22.3 minus 8.9, and we end up with 13.4 centimeters. And that's what your CE would be. So try to take it out of the shape. I do that a lot for my geometry, especially the ones with all the triangles. Take that triangle out, label it correctly, and see what you need to solve for it. Now, property of a kite. Here we have to know two things about kites. First of all, think of an actual kite. There is the top part, they're like shorter lengths, but they are congruent. And then the two bottom parts, so that's like the V, they are also congruent. So it's not opposite sides, it's the neighbor sides. Those two are congruent and the top two are congruent. Also, they make perpendicular lines in between the shape. Example 4. Here it's telling us to find the outside shapes. They only gave us numbers to the inside diagonals. That means we have to go ahead and find each of the sides. For this one, I am going to draw triangles. Here I have a triangle. I have 4. Also, keep in mind this is a right triangle. So it's 4, this is 5. We don't have anything for here. This is actually what we're looking for. We're looking for the missing side. So for this, it's a right triangle. We're missing a side. We can use the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We have one leg, 5 squared. We have the other leg, 4 squared, is equal to c squared. And then we solve accordingly. This is 25 plus 16 equals c squared. This will give you, let's see what I have here. 41, and then you square root both sides, and then you get the square root of 41. Sorry, you don't cancel that out, that just turns into 41. And here we want actual numbers, because we're trying to find the measurement of the side. The square root of 41, if you put in your calculator, just move it or round it to the tenths value, you get about 6.4. So that means this side is 6.4. For kites, the top two sections are congruent. So if ZW is 6.4, that means WX is also 6.4. And that's the two top sections. Now let's look at the bottom one here. If I were to draw this triangle here, again, kites make perpendicular angles. So that right here is perpendicular. This is 5, but now this long part here is 8. We're looking for the hypotenuse because we want to find the length of this side here. We know, once we find this side, we know what this side is because they're both congruent. Now here, all I do is the work. So the a squared plus b squared equals c squared because it's a right triangle. One side is 5, one side is 8 equals c squared. This is 25 plus 64. Don't mind my handwriting, I can't write sideways. And then you add those two together and you end up with 89. Square root both sides. And if you take the square root of 89, you'll have a number of 9.4. So that means this side is 9.4, and also ZY is also 9.4, and you have your measurements all right here. Last part, and we're done. we have this shape here. The book has like a story problem, but we're mainly focusing on here. They want to find the measurement of DE and CF. We have a huge trapezoid with two midsections going on. What we're going to look for is, we're going to go ahead and find this section first. If I were to take this out, I get a shape like this. I get a line like this. I have this as being 2. The midsection is 3.5, and we don't have anything up here for the top section. We go ahead and apply the rules what we know. We know that the midpoint, in this case we do have a midpoint. The midpoint is 3.5. The midpoint is equal to 1/2 times the sum of the two bases. So 1/2 times the base. One base is 2. The other base is, I'll put as x. Or, let's make this easier, CF. CF. So midsection, the midsegment is equal to 1/2 times the sum of the bases, 2 plus CF. We don't have anything there. I just label it as that. Now we solve for this. The unknown is between the parentheses. We have to get rid of anything outside the parentheses before we start moving things around. Here, I have to either divide by 1/2 or you multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal is 2/1, which is equal to 2. So this cancels out that. This is equal to 7 is equal to 2 plus CF. Now we can get rid of the parentheses. We move over the 2 because we want the CF by itself, and we get 5. So now this is equal to 5. But we're not done yet. We have to find CF, and then we also have to find DE. If I look here, if I were to take this shape out, I have another trapezoid, and it's this part right here. So that's my other trapezoid. There's two trapezoids going on. So we know this is 5, we know this is 3.5, and we know this is DE. We don't have that. We have to find that measurement. So again, I drew the trapezoid, and now I'm going to find the missing part. So we know the midsegment in this case is 5, is equal to 1/2 times the sum of the bases. That's 3.5 plus DE. And then after that, you simply just solve for it, multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of that 1/2. This is 10 equals 3.5 plus DE. To get DE by itself, you subtract 3.5 to both sides, and you get 6.5 is equal to DE, and you have your two answers. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. We're going to learn how to wash our hands. Step 1, pump, 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 pump. All right, my assistant's going to help me with some extra. Go ahead and spray me. We need some extra protection. There you go. Thank you. Scrub, scrub. Scrub, scrub. Scrub-a-dub-dub. Rub-a-dub-a-dub. Through the fingers.
Damn, my hair is dope.
Oh no. Clean that too. Then you go and you wash it. Then we clean.